everybody, and welcome to the Business Brunch. I'm Melinda Ward, and I am here today with Vanessa Ashworth, our marketing extraordinaire guru and a specialist in value propositions. And Sarah Farmer is out of the office this week. She'll be back next week. But what we have got is a very special guest. We have Katherine Jones, who is the director of We Are SN, which is an influencer marketing agency that she's been running for 5 years. And she is also the director of Think Wine, which she's been running for 3 years. And, you know, we all might find the concept of running 2 businesses at a time being a bit daunting. So that's part of the reason why we brought her in, along with the insights that she can bring to the table for everybody who's joining us. So say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're from. We'll use the usual format where we'll talk about, you know, who's on the call, where we're from. We'll bring in the comments that we see. And if you think anybody on your contact list would be interested, feel free to ping them in. And don't feel kind of put off if you only see a few comments in your feed, because we stream in from many different feeds. So we're streaming in from Kath's feed, Vanessa's feed, my feed. So you only see the individual comments that are from the feed that you're in, but we see all of them. So let's start off by finding out how our respective weekends were. Kath, since you are our special guest, what did you get up to this weekend?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I didn't do much, to be honest. I was mainly doing, I've recently bought a house and it needs fully doing up. So I was just doing chores around the house, and it was the first weekend in many years that I haven't had as much as even a glass of wine. Like, it was water all weekend. Yeah. I needed a break because I recently went on holiday, and I drank rum punch from start to finish. And
that's a good holiday.
It was a great holiday, but I did some damage to my liver. I gained some pounds, and now, you know, I'm really being well behaved. So I didn't do too much. It was very much painting. I was spray painting things, bossing my boyfriend around while he put things on the wall, things like that. So yeah, nothing too exciting. I want to live vicariously through you, if you can talk about you.
But sometimes those productive weekends are really good, because when you're sitting at computers doing work all the time, to do something really physical and tangible is cool, because like you walk into a room and you're like, yes, we did that. So it's kind of one of those, you know, kind of weird things, or maybe it's just me, but yeah, sometimes
it is true, because I can see the difference this morning when I've come to the kitchen. I'm like, okay, it's looking better.
Yeah,
there is nothing nicer when you've been decorating than lying down and looking up at that ceiling that you've painted. It's just wonderful, kind of, to, you know. Yes, I like decorating, and my house needs decorating, so I think that's next on the list for me. But you were in Barbados, so I think yeah, I mean, you've got to enjoy the rum punch and everything that goes with it there, so that's all right.
Lots of chicken too.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. How about Vanessa? I think you had a very diverse weekend, didn't you? As far as clothing goes, anyway.
Yeah. So I went to the theatre on Friday night. That was an amateur dramatics. That was good. But then Saturday I did park ranger training. So that's with Rivington, where I volunteer. So park rangers is what it is, in walking boots and outside gear. And then on Saturday night I went to a ball. So yeah, it was my turn to sparkle up the tiara, Melinda. And you might have seen my post, but that was, look at me, how fabulously ladylike. And you can still see I've got like lady painted nails, like a real proper lady girl. I can't remember the last time I painted my nails. But yes, I was at a ball on Saturday, so that was very nice.
Yeah, if anybody's curious about that, check out Vanessa's LinkedIn post from today's, because there's definitely some really impressive pictures there.
It's Sunday.
I like that you've continued the red theme into today.
Oh, yes. So yeah, it was nice. And then, no, you see, I'm not your customer, Catherine, because I gave up alcohol 8 months ago.
Oh, well, good for you.
Yeah,
Good
but
for you.
it was just for a year, and then I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But you know how much I spent on drinks at the ball?
0p.
10 whole pounds.
Oh
I
my
had
God.
4 orange and lemonade. And it was really cheap. So I was drinking it in a gin bowl to make it look nice. But the ladies on the table with me were kind of going through Prosecco like it was going out of fashion.
Yeah, I could imagine. God, it's good though. You must save so much money doing that for 8 whole months.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
So what about you, Melinda? What did you get up to?
I was also rather domestic. I did some, got a group of friends. We do a monthly cake club. So we get together and we bake something and then do a Zoom. And sometimes we bake live and sometimes we bake and present. So I made a ginger cake with some apples in it, which turned out pretty well. Got half that. I ended up having to put half in the freezer because I don't need to eat all that cake all at once. But it's always good fun to catch up with people and see who's baked what. And some people are baking hot cross buns. And I never knew how they made the cross in the hot cross buns, but now I know.
How do they do it?
Yes, you must tell everyone outside. And please remember, everyone, to say hello in the comments so we can bring you in a minute.
Absolutely. Let us know what you got up to this weekend and let us know where you're from. And in the UK today, we actually have some sun and it looks like it might be almost thinking about being spring. So let us know how you're doing. What was the question? The hot cross buns cross. Yes. It's basically you make the buns, you prove the buns because it's like a bread dough. So they have to rest for a bit and rise and do their thing. But just before they go in the oven, you're making another bit of dough. It's just flour and water, basically. And you can either use a thick dough and kind of make ropes and press them in. But my friend actually made a thinner batter and used a piping bag and just piped the crosses on just before they go in the oven. But because they're added after the dough has risen and expanded, it keeps the shape. So
there you go. There you
Clever.
Go. Right.
They look super professional. We have people to
only a few people so far, but do say hello to us. And so Will Gavin is here from Raw Research.
Hi, Will. Thanks for joining us.
And then Susan quite rightly says it's no secco for me, and that is it. But the venue didn't have any no secco, so I was stuck with orange and lemonade. It was poor show from them.
That could be doing better there, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say, Catherine?
They actually didn't have any no secco.
No, they had no alcohol-free drinks apart from your usual Coke and lemonade and things like that. They didn't even have a more sophisticated alternative.
That's missing the trick. That they could have had more than £10 out of you.
Certainly could. Yeah, that's missing a huge trick. Yeah. And when you went into this ball, you're kind of going in all your finery into this holding room, and there were kind of glasses of Prosecco and beer before you actually were allowed into the dining room where the bar was, and that was closed off. You couldn't go in there, and there were no drinks, no alcohol-free drinks. No. So for the first half hour, everyone was having the welcome drink, and there was nothing for me or anyone else who might have been kind of driving or alcohol-free.
Which is bizarre because a lot of people are limiting alcohol intake. And it's not a negative, it needs to be accounted for. So that's definitely a bit of a fail on the part of the venue. And as a missed business opportunity, because they certainly could have sold non-alcoholic cocktails and had them look pretty and fancy and luxurious, and completely missed out.
So we've got Susan says she lives in the Scottish borders and had some fabulous dog walks, and it feels good to be alive with this weather. It certainly does. Absolutely. Coming up in the sun. And who else? Danny's here. Danny's back. Thank you, Danny. It's the first sunny weekend means treating and jet washing the decking. Of course it does.
Domestic bliss.
Yeah. I had thought about, is it time? I've got an inflatable hot tub, And I was thinking, is it time yet to get that? And you think with the energy price rise, am I going to get it out? But I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. But it might wait a week or two. And then a LinkedIn user says, hi, Melinda, hi, Vanessa, and Kath. Is Joanna Bell, who's always LinkedIn user. Lovely spring day in the UK. Yes. And Alan is back from Guildford in Surrey. Hello, Alan. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome back. Yeah, the other thing I did this weekend, which was a bit out of the ordinary for me, is I'd had, when we had those big windstorms a couple of weeks ago, I had a tree by my entry gate that got kind of turned into almost a limbo pole. And so my neighbor and I were out because he has a power saw. So we busted out the chainsaw and cut down a tree. So it works out well for him. He helps me. I get my tree cut. He gets firewood for his wood stove. So yes.
Yeah. I need to do that, to be honest. I've got some very dangerous looking trees surrounding my house.
It's a big project, tree felling and all of that. Now, this was a smaller tree at least, but I know, from when you've got multiple trees, it's not a simple task all the time. So what we're going to be talking about today with Katherine is kind of on two topics. So we'll give you an opportunity to start thinking about questions you might want to ask and pop in the chat. Kath has the two businesses. There's the influencer marketing one, the WeRSN, and then there's also Think Wine, which is a wine that is vegan and organic. And one of the things that I am going to ask, because I've heard the answer, but I only learned it very recently, is I'm going to ask all of you in the audience, did you know that wine is not necessarily vegan? It isn't. And that was something that I was thinking, grapes, how can grapes not be vegan? But it's part of the preparation process. So that's going to be one of the questions I would like Kath to enlighten us on, is basically how can we find out if wine is, what makes wine not vegan, and how can we choose a vegan option if we prefer? So if we don't have any more comments, then we can go straight into that if we're ready.
Yeah, let's do that. So any questions on entrepreneurialism, get them in the comments and we'll give them to Kath. Because what I think is amazing is you've got a service-based business and a product business. And so you're going to know, I mean, you must have gone through so many different challenges to set that up. So please, everybody get busy in the questions and let's learn something. Melinda, you're the host, you're the interviewer. Take it away.
Well, let's start with that first question, and that excuse me. What we'll do as questions come in, we'll kind of batch them up, and then we'll go through them as they come in. So kind of after each question, we'll check for the next and see how we go, and hopefully we'll get through everybody's questions. But to be sure, if you've got something you'd like to know, drop it in the comments now so you can get in the queue. All right, so Kath, would you like to tell us about this whole vegan mystery?
Yeah, so it's actually during the clarification process that will turn the wine either vegan or non-vegan. When you first make a wine, it looks cloudy. A lot of people have probably been to like wine tasting, and you can even see the cloudy wines. But yeah, they then clarify it to make it much clearer and much nicer. And it's at that point that, it's either vegan or it's not vegan. For many years, it was either clarified through fish guts, fish scales, egg whites, meat products. It can be anything like meat or dairy produce that is clarifying the wine. And that is why some wines are not vegan. Some of them obviously are. Some of them are not. Mine, for example, that's clarified through a pea protein, which is what ensures that the wine is vegan.
That's cool. And that's also, I didn't know actually that eggs could sometimes be used. So I guess the vegan wine's a great option for people who have egg allergies or egg intolerances as well, to be sure that they can remain safe while still enjoying the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And is it just like the sparkling wines that have that kind of clarification process, or
No.
is it all wines?
I'm not sure if it's every single wine, but the
Well, I
ones
mean variety, like red, white, sparkling.
definitely, definitely most sparkling wines, and I'm pretty sure white and rosé also uses that same clarification process or similar. I don't know much about red, if I'm being honest. But I would assume it's probably the same for all, because most wines, especially like a red, when it comes out the barrel, that you would imagine that to be very cloudy. So
Yes.
I'm sure they would clarify it in some way, and it's just whether they do it the vegan way or the not so vegan way.
Yeah, no, that makes
Fascinating.
it makes good sense. And I think, yeah, when you hear about how it's done, it's just one of those things that was such a surprise to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. So I get that question a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. So Susan did know this because she has vegan family members, but she's interested to know more. Danny did guess. He says, "I seem to remember that egg is used in the process." So you've cleared that up. We've got a few more people saying hello. Nicola Beatty from Holloway's of Ludlow. I can say that I think one is the best Prosecco she has tried.
Whoa.
Oh, I love that. Thanks, Nick.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then Ashley's here. He says he made it. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Ashley. Good to have you.
Hi.
Good to have you back. So on the...
Sorry, I was just going to bring this one. Susan says she's currently avoiding New World wine because of the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of raises a question then for Kath, for your sparkling wine that you're producing. Where are your grapes sourced from? Are you bringing them in from Europe? Are they from England, or is it kind of a blend? Or how are you managing some of those challenges with shipping and everything else that can affect your business?
Yeah, it's from Italy, my wine. The reason it's from Italy is because it's Prosecco, so it has to come from there.
Yeah.
The other wine, so I've got one Prosecco. The other one I've got is a Pinot Grigio sparkling rosé. It's basically like a pink Prosecco, to be honest. Obviously, I don't know if you know this, but it was illegal at one point to call anything like a pink Prosecco or a rosé Prosecco because it just wouldn't have been the Prosecco process.
Yeah.
But eventually they've made it legal because obviously the Italians can make a lot of money from selling pink Prosecco. So after a lot of dealings in court, they legalized pink or rosé Prosecco, even though by technicalities it's not. I created my wine before it was ever legal to call it a pink or rosé Prosecco. So I created a Pinot Grigio sparkling rosé. And I chose, basically, I was searching for Prosecco originally because that's what I wanted. I wanted a Prosecco because I drank a lot of it. And then when we were doing the tastings and they brought out this Pinot Grigio sparkling rosé, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is insanely delicious. And I actually prefer it to Prosecco. So I ended up bringing out two when actually I only really wanted to bring out the one initially.
You're making me so jealous that I don't drink. And now I'm thinking, okay, if I do after my year, if I do go back to drinking, I will make that pink Prosecco my first taste.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah, please.
If I do, because I don't know if I will or not. I'm still on, I don't know what the plan is. But yeah, that
maybe just very, very, very special occasions.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess another question, though, that would kind of be a natural tie-in is, Kath, do you have any vision of developing an alcohol-free line at some point? Because it sounds like you've got your flavor profiles nailed, but it's kind of a big step, perhaps, to do like a no-secco type.
Yeah, product. It is. It's a big step because you have to charge the same price as you would for something with alcohol in, because so basically it's very difficult to make it. And you would never have it to exactly 0% alcohol. It would always be like 0.03 or whatever. But the other way, so what a lot of people are doing is they're actually just making fizzy grape juice and putting it in a Prosecco bottle. And so I could do that and it'd be cheap as chips and it'd be great. But would it fit the brand? probably not, because we're a luxury brand. We're high end, where our wine is not white labeled. It's made specifically for us. You can't get it anywhere else. So I'm not sure bottling some fizzy grape juice would do the trick. But then if I was to create mine without the alcohol, I'm not that passionate about it because the alcohol's the best bit. Sorry. And B, it will cost the same, and I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to charge someone the same price for a bottle as if it didn't have alcohol in. Does that make sense?
It does, and I get you. And people argue with me about this, but I'm quite happy to pay. So before I stopped drinking, I used to drink Martini Rosso, and I love Martini. Luckily, once I decided to give up alcohol, Martini brought out Vibrante, and there's another one as well, but I've not seen it, the white one. And Vibrante is their red alcohol-free Martini, and it's the same price as a bottle of Martini. Because it's so difficult to make. You're going to make it and then take the alcohol out, don't you? It's probably more expensive to make, isn't it? I will happily pay that money. Because I'm getting what I want. I'm getting that flavour of the alcohol drink. It's something more sophisticated, but I'm just not getting the headache the next morning.
And it's not, and I think a lot of people are coming around to that idea that it's not for kiddies, right? So it's not like fizzy grape juice like you'd give kids at a birthday party. This is an adult beverage with adult quality and flavor profiles associated with it, and the work that's involved to get that justifies the price. But as you say, with any business, you have to be passionate about what you're creating, so that then becomes the key.
I would never say never, though. If we really succeed, and we launched recently into the USA, so let's just say we really succeed in that market, and I have this huge demand for people saying, do you have a non-alcohol version? Then I would absolutely go and look into doing it. It's just at this exact moment, it's not on the agenda, but if there is a demand for it, then absolutely, I would do it.
There's definitely a growing demand in the sector, but as you say, it's building your brand so that you've got that distribution network.
Exactly.
And you can make it really worthwhile.
Exactly.
So going on from that, then, the passion. You said you like Prosecco, but how did you come at all to decide I'm going to make wine? Where did that come from?
Exactly.
It was so random. So obviously I've said that my background is influencer marketing. So I'd had an influencer marketing business for a few years. And before that, I'd worked in influencer marketing. So I was working very closely with brands, some of them really big brands like, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, things like that. But I would see the return on investment that brands were getting from working with influencers. And even in the initial stages when it was predominantly Twitter, well, it's now it's all Instagram, isn't it? But it was Twitter back then. And people would pay £1,000 for someone to wear their dress on a post, and they'd make £100,000 off that post. So huge, mega return investment that you'd never really seen. And so I was just like, wow, if all these brands are making this much return investment, then I need my own brand, because I know all about influencer marketing. So if I can utilize influencer marketing with my own brand, imagine how big I could make it.
So that's the leap into products then.
That was the leap into product. And product is so much harder by a million gazillion miles. It's just so much harder in every single way, from licensing to warehouse to staff to everything. It's just way harder. But obviously, if you reap the reward, it's so much more scalable. So to reach the rewards, I had to do that. That's probably looking back now, if I knew all I knew, would I have done it? I don't know. It's another question. I probably would, but still I'd be a bit like, oh God, because there's just so much involved in a product business. However, so I knew I wanted a product, but I didn't know what product I wanted. So I'm like, okay, well, I want something I'm passionate about, something I love, something that has got longevity. Because what I was noticing was there was a lot of brands who were popping up in e-commerce store, building a site themselves, buying a really cheap, crappy product in from China.
Yeah.
They'd have that product, they'd put their own label on it, and then they'd sell it, for double, triple what they bought it in for. And then after a week, they'd just shut the site down because probably the stuff they were selling was not even tried and tested. It was such cheap items that they were maybe buying for £1, selling for £8, and then the website would go missing. So we started doing a lot more due diligence with who we would work with, because we were like, we don't just want this site shutting down next week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if it feels, even if it wasn't shady, it feels a bit like if someone bought a product, they liked it. 2 months later, they told their friend about it. They go back and try to find the website, and it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Exactly. Like for multiple reasons, you don't really want to, I guess, have too much of a part in that type of business. So I knew I needed longevity, and I knew I needed passion. And because I'm just that type of person, if I'm not passionate, then I don't want to know. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what do I love? And really, I loved wine, and not just Prosecco, but any wine. I'd always go on wine tasting holidays. I'd go to wine tasting events. I always say I was never a wine connoisseur. I'm no master of wine, but I loved it, and I knew what tasted good, and I could always tell which was the high quality wines. So I was like, well, why? That was just one of the thoughts, but actually the reason it actually transpired is because I was going to a lot of events. So you know what it's like when you go to an event, it's Prosecco on arrival, champagne on arrival. I was gaining loads of weight rapidly, and I was working very hard, and I didn't have much chance to eat. So I certainly wasn't overeating.
Yeah.
But I was over drinking. The calories were coming from that.
Those empty calories from alcohol. Oh.
that you think don't exist, because you're like, oh, it's just a drink. So anyway, when I started tracking, I could see very clearly that the weight gain was coming from that. And I was already trying to battle sugar in terms of, like chocolate. I love it. I've got a sweet tooth, so chocolate. And I was like, okay, I need to, why isn't there sugar wine available? So then I started Googling it. Is the one. I did find one. And I won't name and shame them, but when I ordered it and drank it, it was the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. It was cardboard. And I thought, wow, if this is the only competition in this market, then there's my product. That's what I need. So I just kept researching, kept looking, couldn't find anything. It was literally that one, and it was horrible. And it was sold in Selfridges as well, at a really expensive price. So I think that was just purely because it was like the only one available. Yeah. So I thought, right, okay, that's it then. I have to do this because someone else is going to if I don't.
Yeah.
And then the journey started from there, basically.
Excellent. I mean, in a similar way, what doesn't exist at the minute is a nice tasting alcohol-free wine. There isn't one.
Yeah, there's not.
Prosecco or the no secco isn't so bad. It's drinkable.
Yeah.
So it's not horrible. But the actual still wines, white or red, are horrific. It's vinegar. It's nothing more than vinegar.
Yeah.
Over-sweetened vinegar.
Yeah. It's either vinegar or Ribena, or you're like it's like fruit drink. It's not, it's like a kid's drink, not.
It's like they want to make up for the no alcohol, and they'll just lash in a load of extra sugar and be like, that'll be okay.
I think to compensate for the lack of flavor or the lack of depth of flavor, but sugar is not the answer.
No,
just generally speaking.
Never.
Let's bring in a few comments.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got some really good comments coming in, I think.
So Susan says, chocolate and Prosecco. All I need is my kimono. How many calories in a glass of your wonderful rosé?
So depending on the size of your glass, if it's a 125ml glass, then it'll be 75 calories. In a full bottle, you've got 450 calories, which in comparison with most Proseccos, you're talking nearly 50% less.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's 900 calories a bottle, isn't it?
Yeah. And then also it depends which one you drink. So I always tell people this because they don't know. Extra dry Prosecco, you would think in your head, because most extra dry white wines or whatever is drier. With Prosecco or sparkling wine, extra dry means full of sugar. So yeah. So if you're drinking an extra dry Prosecco, you could be drinking 2,500 calories in that bottle easily. So what you need to be drinking is a brut or an extra brut, and that means very low sugar. So mine's an extra brut, and it's super low sugar, obviously. But if you drink an extra dry Prosecco, honestly, it can be 2,500 calories. So just please don't.
That's
Everybody
shocking,
buys
probably
one.
for a lot of people,
Yeah.
including. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know it was that much. So yeah, wow. And especially just think if you're having that with like party food and things as well, you can just absolutely blow up your calorie count for the day without even realizing it, and without really like overeating too much either, as you said.
And that's what I was doing, you see, because most of the time, if you ever get a free drink on arrival, I guarantee it's going to be extra dry because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So just see if you can have a check on the bottle, but that's what I was always drinking. So when I learned, because I was like, what do you mean, extra dry, surely that's less sugar because it's dry.
Yeah.
But no, it's the opposite with sparkling wines. So
Wow. Wow. So
Fascinating.
more comments. We've got Jador Slim, who says, good evening from Algeria and good evening for your guest. So it's evening in Algeria.
Evening. Hello.
So Joe says the calorie count per bottle is amazing, and the fact about extra dry has blown her mind. Mine too, Joe. I'm very surprised. And what else have we got? Amechi, who's an executive career development coach, says big demand at a pop-up non-alcohol shop for Dry January opened in London this year and extended to February. It was so popular, fabulous.
You have to go.
Yeah, Amechi also says that all the taste and none of the headache is certainly worth the investment. And the new ones taste better than earlier, but yeah, with wine, they've still not got it right.
Yeah, and also I must tell you, even though I do have 11% ABV, because ours is organic and super low sulfite, and it's got no added, because like Diet Coke, when they take the sugar out and they add in sweeteners and crap like that.
Yeah.
Ours doesn't have anything like additionally bad put in. It's all organic, it's vegan, so it's super clean. Therefore, I'm not saying drink 3 bottles because you would get a hangover, but off one, it's highly unlikely you would get a hangover. I never ever get a hangover off up to a bottle of it.
Yeah, because it seems like it's, for me anyway, sulfites are more what really can mess with my chemistry. Because I've got some other food allergies that are related to sulfites, so I am a bit hypersensitive to them. But yeah, I think a lot of people might not realize that there can be artificial sweeteners in wines, and especially sparkling wines, and those how many people would go out and not order a diet soda because they don't want artificial sweeteners, but then would order a glass of sparkling wine, not even realizing that they're getting those extra chemicals.
Yeah. No, I know, definitely. And people ask me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, what have you done?" Because they've never experienced something so low sugar to taste so nice. They will say, "Oh, what have you done what have you added in?" And I'm like, absolutely nothing. It's purely a reduction in sugar. There's nothing bad added.
So it's like, yeah, I'm sure people are wondering, like, what voodoo is this?
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Some lovely comments coming in celebrating your work. And Connor says it's by far the nicest Prosecco that he has tried. So, and we've got, I'm so pleased to follow your subject. It is so much important for us and changing ideas between us, differences of culture, in fact. There you go.
Love that.
Good. So
Yeah,
you go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, I guess we should probably pivot a little bit towards the influencer marketing, although the wine is a fascinating topic. But since you've got two businesses going, we should give them kind of both a little bit of exposure. Although, wine and chocolate, well, you've had me at hello. But anyway. So I was curious, as far as influencer marketing goes, and because the technologies themselves, all the different platforms are changing so quickly. Like there is, there's the new next thing, which in 6 months will be the old thing. What are you seeing as the emerging trends for the next few months? I won't even say for the next year, because that's probably too far ahead. But for the influencer marketing, are you seeing changes based on what's happening in the world today? It's like with the war in Ukraine and just the economics of life in general becoming more expensive. Is that having an impact on influencer marketing?
I think the main impact on influencer marketing is coming from the ASA, which is the Advertising Standards Agency. So they are really, really closing in on people who are not, making it very, very clear when something is a paid ad. And therefore, also, I think the market is just very saturated. So those days are gone, that I told you about earlier, where it was £1,000 and then you get 100,000. Now you'll pay 10,000, maybe get 15. It's still, the return investment is still there, and people are still always going to do it, but it's just such a saturated market. I think the main change is coming with the platforms. So obviously everything right now is on Instagram, and everything is moving to TikTok. TikTok is just, it's coming thick and fast. And if you ever want to capture a millennial, you need to be on TikTok. Otherwise, you've got no hope.
Just
so
us grannies who are on Instagram or something.
I think the grannies are on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's the grannies are on Facebook. Then you've got the I don't know what would you call it, 30 to 50.
The mums,
they're on Instagram, and then you've got the millennials are all on TikTok. But more and more people are joining TikTok. Older people are getting involved, and it's just it's speed of growth is phenomenal. LinkedIn as well. I don't know if you've seen, there's a lot of influencers on LinkedIn these days, and you can tell that some of them are being paid to say things. And I don't know if it's just my experience, because I know very much about influencer marketing and the world, but I can tell when someone's either had something free or they've been paid to say something. And it's happening on LinkedIn. I think it's just not as monitored the way it is on Instagram, because obviously Instagram influencers are very different to LinkedIn influencers. They're very, very much like business influencers, while as no, I said 30 to 50 is on Instagram, and you're not granny. I just seen that come up. I'm like, no.
Oh, no, yeah.
And I only said 50 and above for granny, because that all my mum's friends are now grannies, and they're all 50.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. Yeah, I had to laugh at that.
Yeah. So Danny says, identify your fish and then go where your fish are. Very wise.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah. Go swimming with your fish. So yeah, basically the big changes are coming in platform changes. I guess in terms of like how the war in Ukraine, for example, is affecting it, I guess I could say I've had a couple of people drop out of working with my influencers, because they say that now's not the right time, because they might offend people by, just like, because some of them, they want you to post like this like luxury lifestyle, and then I guess some brands are feeling really bad about promoting this luxury lifestyle while other people are going through hell. But then aside from that, it's also, there's people who would buy things from Russia, people who would buy things from Ukraine, and if they are not able to easily access their stock, then they're unable to use influencer marketing because they can't fulfill the orders. So it is having an effect, but I wouldn't say at this point there's no major effect that I can see right now.
Yeah, and I can see where perhaps some of those the marketing might pitch a bit, even if it's normally luxury branding, might be pitching a bit more towards how the company is supporting the efforts or positive changes that they're making, as opposed to, like, here's me on my yacht, using this luxury handbag or whatever it might be.
Well, a lot of people are still doing that, but what the saying is, oh, we'll give 10% of profits to the Ukraine. So even though they're still going like, oh, look at my gorgeous bag that I'm out with at the beach, they're also saying, P.S. if you buy this bag, 10% of profits are going to the Ukraine. So it's almost like, it some people are still going to get offended, but at the same time, they are doing a little bit to help.
Yeah, and it's true, that the old strapline is like every little bit helps, because it does. And, it is a bit of a weird time, but there's always, some good can come out of it, even if it's buying some luxury brand, if there's donations being made. So might as well leverage that. So what are you finding at the moment, Kath, when because you've had two businesses now that you spin up and you're juggling and whatnot. Most people who are maybe struggling with one business or with a full-time job and thinking about spinning up their own business, until it can replace income. Do you have any tips or insights for how you've had to learn to sort of juggle your time or manage the demands on you that are coming at you from both businesses?
I tend to just deal with whatever's happening on the day, because both of my businesses now, they've got members of staff. Like obviously in the younger years, especially with Think, it was just like me completely alone, like giving it a whirl. And it was very, very expensive, and Social Nation was very much funding those expenses. And it was difficult. It was just me, and that was very, very hard. But I just did it because I wanted to, and I wasn't bothered about having weekends, and I didn't have kids, which I can honestly say I don't know how you could do it with kids. I know people do, but I don't know how, because I feel like I could not. However, I didn't have kids. I have my weekends. If I had to work a weekend, oh well, because this was the end goal. Now both businesses have both got staff, and I always describe myself now as, like, I guess, the poo catcher. So like whatever comes up that day that's kind of crap is what I'm going to deal with. So if it's on Social Nation, then maybe we've got an issue with a client, or an issue with a brand, or an issue with a payment, I'm dealing with that. Or the next day it might be we can't get our container in because it's been stuck at customs, and HMRC are on my case, and then I deal with that on that day. So it's very much like whatever happens, I'm just catching the crap bits so that my staff can get on with selling, marketing, managing the day-to-day, and enjoy their role. So I'm taking all the bad parts of the role, I guess, and dealing with that type of stuff. So it's just whatever comes along on that day. I never say like, oh, it's 50% this and 50% that, because it's not. Some weeks I could be totally Think, and the next week I could be totally Social Nation, and the next week I'll just do one day on one. It just depends what comes up for each business.
Yeah, so it sounds like delegation and getting the right people to do the right jobs has been really key for your success in growing both businesses, once they're beyond the very, like fledgling stage. Because that is something, when there's only one of you, then you have to find a way to sort of divide and conquer that. Well, we've got like about a minute left. So we've got a few comments coming in, talking about how, you've clearly been, deserving of the success that you've got coming. So that's very kind. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us, Kath, in the last minute, or any questions that we really should have asked but we didn't quite get to?
No, I've enjoyed it. What I would say, because people always I often get asked like, what makes you different? Why do you keep on going? Blah, blah, blah. And I just think resilience is the key to everything. So I've been knocked down a million times by a million different people, and I always get back up. And that is the key to it. Just every time you get knocked down, don't think, oh, woe be me, I'll stay lying down. Just think, right, I'm resilient. That's it. I'll crack on by.
Yeah. Yeah, and not take stuff so personal, I suppose, is part of that, isn't it? You know, if someone says, oh, I don't like your wine, you know, you can't take that as a personal affront. It's just, hey, that's why there's lots of wine in the world. Off you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would never be offended by that. Don't get me wrong. There probably was a time at some point in the beginning that I would be. I'd be like, oh, but now, you know, yeah, everyone's different. So not everyone's going to love it. Not everyone's going to love me. And I just have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I suppose we're gonna, I know we're running over now, but I just want to know what's next for you.
Well, I want to create more wines. I get so many requests for a red and a still rosé. So I would like to look into that and just keep on growing the brand. And to be honest, I want to grow the brand to a point of sale, and then I would like to sell it. That's the plan. And then I'm sure I'll come up with some other stupid idea that'll take up the rest of my life, and I'll just keep on working, and that'll be it.
Oh, we wish you every success with that, and thank you so much. I've got a million more questions I could have asked you, actually, so we might have to bring you back.
Yeah, no problem. I'll come back anytime. And I'm glad, Debbie, that you like poo catcher, because I might change my LinkedIn to that.
Yeah, I think you should have business cards made. I think.
Fabulous.
Well, thank you everybody for joining, and thank you very, very much to Kath Jones. And if anybody is curious about the brand, it is called Think Wine, and her you can follow her, Katherine, directly. You can also follow Think Wine, and you can follow the influencer marketing agency We Are SN, and that will link you into her. Be sure to follow Vanessa and myself if you're not already. And next week, we'll be back with Sarah Farmer in her usual spot.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks all. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.